Hello everybody and welcome back to Coaster Shark. And today we are on episode 18 of building Drayton Manor in Planet Coaster. And I'm just going to start off this episode with a bit of a cinematic off-ride slash POV point of view whatever of Shockwave. And as you might have seen in the last episode, it was all fully supported, and this is just what it looks like from an off-ride perspective. So it all looks pretty smooth to the extent of Planet Coaster and a 1994 Intamin. But now into our first time lapse, and in this time lapse we are going to be building the hillbilly shooting midway game whatever. So this is just pick up a gun and shoot some stuff, like shoot hillbillies and mice and whatever. Yeah, it's pretty tacky from what I remember. Don't think I've actually done it, but it is quite prominent in that position of right in front of Shockwave. And if you look to just to the side of the hillbilly place, you can see that there's a big wall. That's actually a spoiler wall for, I guess, Splash Canyon and a lot of the new Adventure Cove area. So just adding in some railings across that top bit. It's all looking pretty good. And here's a sign saying hillbilly. And surprisingly enough, the fonts in this game are absolutely terrible. And so are some of the placing mechanics. So I'm just going to put that back there. You know, in post-production I realised that it doesn't even say hillbilly shooting range. Can't remember what it actually says, but it isn't that. And I'm just adding in that back wall now because I guess there's a bit behind it. I'm not really sure what they'd need to be behind it because it's actually just like a laser gun shooting ride. Maybe it's like a storage cupboard, or maybe it's just like part of the behind the scenes for Shockwave and Splash Canyon. I don't know, it's quite intriguing, I guess. Or maybe it's just all for show. And there's the roof just going on now. It's a weird colour, and I don't know why I made it so pointy. And that's just the sides of the roof going in there. So just making sure that it's all the right height after I load it all down, and adding in some fences down the side. And that is pretty much what hillbilly looks like without any of the props. I can actually find a good gun. As you can see, I'm just trying to place in some weird stuff. And into this next clip, which is the Stormforce 10 arcade. And I don't actually remember seeing this in any of my visits, but yeah, it's there, you know. And it's got some weird roofing structure. I guess it's some pretty nice theming. But the windows, how is it possible to not have bay windows in this game? And if they are bay windows, they're full on fairy tale bay windows. It's bad. And also, when you try and make a piece of wood white, it turns into some weird grey stuff. Now just making sure that is actually a functioning arcade. So by doing that, I'm just adding in some arcade devices, I guess you could say. And this is where I realise that that fence there is meant to connect the two. So pretty much, can you see how they are really, really far apart? Well, they're actually meant to be literally right next to each other. And that's because when I first made the park, I didn't make sure there was like a satellite Google Maps view on the floor. So none of it is actually to scale. I've just built the rides next to each other, I guess. It's all badly to scale. So I'm just going to try and have to figure out a way to connect those two buildings. But whilst I do that, I think I'll just go and place some bushes just to cure my very sadness. I'm sounding like Shakespeare here. But yeah, it sucks. It does. So I don't think I am actually going to sort out any of the scaling things up because it's already too late. And if you can think back to episode 15, if you've watched that, that was a pain when I had to move half of that side of the park around. And this is a larger side of the park. And here I'm just checking if the bushes that I just placed are all good from on Shockwave. The thing is, everything from on Shockwave actually looks alright. However, it's not alright once you get onto a ground view, if you can sort of get what I'm saying here. And so the time lapses continue, and I've finally gotten around to placing in those bits of walls that I was just waffling about a minute ago. And yeah, it doesn't look realistic at all. A big bendy wall, when in realisticness it's like 10. But yeah. And in the start of this clip, I am making the footers for the new ride coming in Adventure Cove. This is in the old G-Force plot. They reckon it's a wave swinger. So to give me a sort of base to go around, I put a wave swinger in, and I'm just placing some foundations around the side of it. And this process was pretty easy, but they've actually raised up the ground inside of the foundations, and that was the hard bit, and that's about what I'm going to go onto now. So that's just me digging. That's probably where the op cabin is going to be, I don't know, and just going to raise that ground there. But when I smoothed it out, it didn't fit at all, so then I tried, I guess, like flattening it and then pushing it down and flattening it some more, and me just trying to flatten this took like 5 minutes and it didn't even work. So I tried flattening it to foundation, only to realise that I put the foundations in the wrong place and I've gone back to scratch. So I brought the foundations back up to a good place, and then I tried to see if that would work, and it hadn't yet. And then I tried to use those foundations that you can see there, and that actually flattened it out a bit, like pretty well. And then I was happy with the flatness and height of the foundation. However, the only thing now was to make sure that the walls were in the right place, and that it in itself is a bit of a process. And I think I just gave up after a while. Just trying to make sure that all of the walls were, to the right size, and that there wasn't any gaps between the wall and the foundations. And there I am, just covering it in mud and adding the main bit of concrete in the middle. That's probably with the main foundation to like the central point where the people are going to be swinging in for. And here I am, just deciding to redo the Buffalo station. No idea what actually happened to the station. Probably the 3rd time I've done it now, and I've rushed this quite a lot, but I can't believe it took me an entire episode to do a worse job than that. The early episodes, dang. And as you can see, it's pretty good, but it needs a roof just to finish it off. And I decided to go for a flat roof when I eventually do actually decide to go roof on, which is now. So I decided to go for a flat roof, and it's that sort of metal corrugated roof. Yeah, it looks good. It's not perfect, and I guess nothing in this park is perfect, other than maybe some parts of Pandemonium, as you can see. And I quite like this little area with the 2 of those rides. And this next time lapse is going to start off with me building the disabled entrance for Accelerator. And the disabled entrance is like a big tall tower with a wheel on it, and it's just to the right, or I guess one of the turnarounds on Accelerator. It looks alright. And that's just me trying to figure out a wheel to put on top of it. Yeah, that is an old-fashioned wheel, but it's better than a minuscule wheel. I'll probably find a better one off the workshop. I might do that between episodes, who knows. and that's just a part of the disabled queue, and just lowering down the roof. So that all looks great, and this is for the exit and photo booth for Accelerator, and it goes for a similar colour with quite a lot of the exit, I guess, with this steel, grey, all of this sort of colour scheme, and that's the walls that go around the outside of it. And then on top of that there's a roof, and because of the weird shaping I decided to go for a plaster roof of the toolkit, and that seemed to go down alright. I should probably recolour them so that they're the same shade, if not darker, and that's just the shop facade. And the final time lapse of today is the Sheriff Showdown, Golden Nuggets, whatever you want to call it, and I'm just redoing the track. It's all been inside a massive box building this entire time, but the building was a bit too big on, I guess, all sides, so just making it down to scale. Wow, I mentioned scale again. And extending the floor outwards. And then once I'm done with extending the floor outwards, I started to think of how I could add in the scenery. So I go on a quick little POV and I decide to get to work. And the way that I start is I work out the bit that we do at first, which is you go into a little mine section. So I find some nice rocks that I can use, and so that is some of the temple pieces, and then I slowly add them to the walls around that first turnaround that the part goes through, I guess. And then there is the wall for the station, because if you can, in a shooting ride, if you can see the rest of the ride from the station, it kind of gives it away. So it goes to just any old dark ride really, unless if it's done impeccably well. Then I'm really not sure how they'd be able to do that, but Disney has their magic. So there's a bunch of barrels and a skeleton for the first turnaround, and there is all of the barrels. I made sure to add a nice variety, making sure that they're all in the right places. Got some dynamite crates, some other mysterious crates, some more barrels, and this is now the end of the episode. So I hope you all enjoyed, and yeah, bye.